country where beautiful women often stay single, husbands can be shared among brothers, bathing is taboo, and getting drunk is considered polite. This isn't a joke. This is Mongolia, a place where the steppe winds carry customs so strange and paradoxical that outsiders can only shake their heads and laugh, then feel an urge to visit at least once to see it for themselves. And in today's video, join Eagle Discovery as we explore 15 bizarre facts about Mongolia. Watch until the end, and you'll find yourself saying, "Wow, there's still so much weirdness in this world I didn't know about." Mongolian women, beautiful but not attractive to men. In many places around the world, beauty is an advantage. But out on the Mongolian steppe, it can actually make it harder for a woman to find a husband. Why? Mongolian men, especially in nomadic communities, aren't looking for delicate beauty. They need a wife who can herd sheep through a snowstorm, start a fire in minus 40 degrees Celsius winds, and ride horses for dozens of kilometers without tiring. The perfect woman, in their eyes, is practical, resilient, and hardworking, not someone with pale skin or soft hands. In this harsh environment, fragile beauty is seen as a sign of weakness, and therefore not trustworthy. Women who dress fashionably, are highly educated, and live independently in the city are often considered too different to fit into traditional ways of life. As a result, these modern, stylish women often stand outside the marriage game, not because they lack value, but because they don't match the expectations shaped over centuries. In your country, do beautiful women ever stay single like in Mongolia? Have you ever met anyone like that? A wife can be shared among brothers. Some minority nomadic tribes used to practice polyandry, meaning one woman could marry multiple brothers in the same family. The reason wasn't promiscuity, but to avoid splitting up land and herds. Out on the vast steppe, the more united a family is, the less likely their horses and sheep will get lost, and the family wealth won't be divided over generations. The eldest husband usually held the title to the tent, while the younger brothers shared the work of herding, guarding, and watching over the livestock. Any child born belonged to the entire clan. No one cared much about whose biological father he was, as long as the herd was healthy and the tent stood firm against the snowstorms. Today, this custom has mostly disappeared, but hundreds of years ago, it was the way of life for families who survived on tender grass and cold winds. Another unusual side of marriage in Mongolia, where family isn't just blood, but also the bond that keeps the horses from scattering. If you lived in ancient Mongolia, would you accept sharing a husband or wife? And don't look away, because 15 Weird Secrets of Mongolia, where beautiful women stay single and bathing is taboo, still has plenty of shocking stories waiting for you right after this. Bathing new, once a taboo. In many parts of the Mongolian steppe, bathing was once almost non-existent. Ancient Mongolians believed that water could disturb the dragon veins buried deep underground and anger the spirits. Because of this, some families could go an entire year without touching a single drop of water. Back in the time of Genghaskhan, warriors wore the same suit of armor until the fabric rotted away, only shaking it out occasionally to get rid of lice. The smell that soaked into their skin wasn't something to be ashamed of. It proved they were blessed. Those fortunate enough to wear Genghis Khan's sweat-soaked old armor saw it as an honor, a symbol of power and loyalty. Today, soap and showers have found their way into towns and cities. But in a few remote nomadic communities, the old belief still lingers. Daily bathing isn't seen as a necessary habit. It was once a taboo, thought to disrupt the balance of earth and sky. How many days could you go without bathing? Be honest and see who's tougher. More animals than people. In Mongolia, the number of horses is nearly equal to the number of people. It's estimated that there are over 3.2 million people and just as many horses scattered across the steppe, living and wandering together through cold winds and tender grass. Here, horses are not just a means of transport. They are the lifeblood woven into nomadic life. Children learn to ride before they learn to walk. Adults cling to their saddles to chase herds across snowy fields. Elders, even with bent backs, still hold the reins as if gripping a piece of their life. The strongest horses are treasured as valuable dowry, a sign that a family is wealthy and respected. At gatherings with fermented mare's milk, conversations often start with horses and end with horses. Whoever raises good horses is honored. Without horses, a nomadic family would struggle to travel far or keep their goats and sheep from wandering off into the vast grasslands. In a place where people are few, every horse is like a second pair of legs and part of the soul of the steppe. Toilet, a dirt hole in the middle of the steppe. Out on the vast Mongolian steppe, a toilet is sometimes nothing more than a hole quickly dug next to a tent. No walls, no door, no roof. Just the wind blowing, the grass swaying, and the sky stretching all the way to the horizon. Summer is a bit more bearable, but winter is when your willpower is truly tested. The freezing wind lashes your face, the temperature drops to minus 30 degrees Celsius, minus 40 degrees Celsius. Yet when nature calls, you still have to go. One hand holds your coat, the other blocks the wind. You crouch down in the freezing grassland, finish your business, then head back to the tent. Just another part of daily life. For nomads, there's nothing to complain about. From a young age, children get used to seeing a lonely toilet hole sitting outside the tent. No one shuts a door. There isn't one. If you want privacy, just turn your back to the grass, find a spot sheltered from the wind, and that's it. The reason is simple. If an entire tent can be packed up, strapped to a horse, and moved anytime, then a toilet can't be fancy either. Living with the herd, following the wind and clouds, everything, including going to the toilet, has to blend into the free-flowing rhythm of life on the steppe. Stay until the end, and you'll see why Mongolia is unlike anywhere else on Earth. A navy just for a lake. In Mongolia, having a navy sounds like a joke, because the entire country doesn't have a single inch of coastline. Yet for many years, Mongolia still maintained a tiny naval unit that operated on Lake Kovskol, a lake often called the Sea Lake of the Steppe. When the Soviet Union was still around, this navy was equipped with a few motorboats, stationed right on the lakeshore. Their main job was to patrol, protect the water source, prevent fish smuggling, and keep the nomadic communities around the lake safe. It was called a naval force, but it only had a few dozen men, with their entire territory limited to the calm freshwater of one lake. No big waves, no distant coastline. Years after the Soviet Union dissolved, this unit mostly existed only on paper, a strange leftover from Mongolia's military history. People still tell the story of the Lake Navy as a quirky legend, a landlocked country keeping a navy, with sailors who never saw the real ocean except in movies. Today, Kovskol remains a major tourist destination, where the rusted old boats of this once-upon-a-time navy are sometimes displayed as relics. In a land of mountains, grass, and wind, this naval force stands as a reminder that Mongolia always holds unexpected paradoxes, and nowhere else could such odd things exist. A unique postal system. Across a steppe so vast that you can travel all day without seeing a single soul, Mongolia still maintains a postal system that feels like it steps straight out of a history book. Here, delivering mail isn't just about dropping off letters. It's an entire journey tracking nomadic families who never stay in one place. Since the time of Genghaskhan, Mongolians have had a network of horse relay stations stretching across Asia and Europe. And even today, Mongolia's postal couriers preserve the core of that system. A mail route can run for hundreds of kilometers, cutting across grassy hills, frozen rivers, and nameless plains. The courier rides a horse, carrying letters, medicine, and documents, following the tracks of wandering livestock camps. On some routes, a postman covers up to 200 kilometers a day, switching horses multiple times, stopping at rest stations, wooden huts in the middle of nowhere, to rest both rider and horse. GPS and satellite phones help, but everything still relies on memory, experience, and the skill to read wind direction and livestock tracks. To tourists, it may sound romantic, but in reality, this job can cost you your life when a snowstorm hits and temperatures plunge to minus 50 degrees Celsius. Yet for over 100 years, this nomadic postal system has kept going, linking scattered tents across the vast steppe, a fragile thread that keeps communities connected to the outside world. A festival on a frozen lake. While many places shut their doors and hide from the snow, there's a lake in northernmost Mongolia that becomes a gathering spot for thousands, right on a sheet of ice so cold it burns your skin. Lake Kovskol, when winter comes, doesn't just freeze over, it turns into a massive festival stage where people celebrate the cold instead of fearing it. Hundreds of temporary tents are set up directly on the ice. Horses race across the frozen lake, while people skate, pull sleds, shoot arrows, and wrestle in the minus 30 degrees Celsius to minus 40 degrees Celsius winds. At night, campfires crackle. The ice glows under the flames, and the sound of drums and folk songs echo across the frozen dark. For Mongolians, Lake Kovsgol in winter is proof that cold isn't something to fear. It's something to face, play with, and turn into a point of pride. Maybe only here do people gather for a festival on a lake where a single hard stomp can make the ice crackle beneath your feet. The strange thing is, even though the cold can freeze bare skin in minutes, children still laugh, elders still clink glasses, and tourists feel like they've stepped into another world, where people and ice sit down to celebrate together. Sacred mountains, forbidden to touch. There are mountains where simply stepping too close can break a taboo. In Mongolia, many ranges are believed to be the spine of the gods, the dwelling places of ancient spirits guarding the entire steppe. People believe that digging, making noise, or cutting trees on these sacred peaks will spread misfortune across their herds and ruin entire grazing seasons. That's why some mountains have stood for thousands of years, rich in minerals, yet untouched by a single drill. Each year, only shamans are allowed to climb the sacred mountains to make offerings and pray for good pastures. The trails around these peaks still hold footprints passed down from generation to generation. In some areas, satellite images of these mountains are even blurred out, a way to hide holy places from the prying eyes of the outside world. Mongolians believe if you touch a sacred mountain without permission, nature will take back double. So treasures lie undisturbed at the mountain's base, and rare wildlife quietly hides away because people here understand one thing well: some things are best left exactly as they have always been. The world's most sparsely populated country. Imagine a place where you can travel for hours, even days, without seeing another soul. Only the wind and herds of wild horses. In this country, people take pride in living among endless open spaces, where the population density is one of the lowest in the world. On a landmass larger than many European countries combined, Mongolia has only a few million people scattered like tiny dots on the map. On average, there are just 2 people per square kilometer. But you're more likely to spot a wolf, a flock of sheep, or an eagle's tracks than a neighbor. These empty spaces don't make Mongolians feel lonely. On the contrary, they mean freedom. The freedom to move your tent whenever you want, ride your horse across the plains, or set up camp where no one will bother you. Across these vast distances, people stay connected by stories told around campfires, postal couriers crossing the steppe, and festivals that gather thousands into one place before scattering them again to the 4 winds. Here, emptiness isn't distance. It's space for people to live closer to the wind, the land, the horses, and the sky. The land of the blue sky. Mongolia is called the land of the blue sky because it has more than 250 sunny days each year. Clouds almost disappear, leaving behind a vast crystal-clear sky like a giant mirror. Nomads believe the sky is their shared roof, a sign of good pastures and strong horses. Every morning, they just lift their heads, read the blue, predict the wind and rain, and decide whether to move camp or stay. Under that endless sky, the white tents look as tiny as specks of dust, and herds of horses and sheep drift like they're moving through a painting. When night falls, the blue sky gives way to a sea of stars, so thick and so close that some people believe they could reach up and touch them. In a world increasingly boxed in by skyscrapers, Mongolians still hold onto a sky so open it feels infinite, something no city can buy and no boundary can contain. Genghaskhan is everywhere. Genghaskhan doesn't just live in history books. In Mongolia, he's literally everywhere in a way no other country can match. From a giant 40-meter-tall steel statue of him on horseback riding across the steppe, to the bills in your wallet, vodka bottles, street signs, schools, and even the international airport all bear the name Genghaskhan. To Mongolians, he's not just the conqueror who once ruled half the world, but an ancestor and a symbol of the nomadic roots that once made Europe tremble. Some joke that in Mongolia, if you close your eyes and throw a stone, you'll probably hit something named after Genghis Khan. But the stranger thing is, even though his image is everywhere, no one has ever found his real grave. Legend says his funeral procession buried him in a secret valley, killed every witness, snapped branches, and diverted streams to erase all traces. For 800 years, countless expeditions have searched for it, but all they found are rumors and hope. Many Mongolians believe that Genghis Khan's grave should stay hidden in the earth, a part of his spirit forever drifting with the winds of the steppe. Because to them, he doesn't belong to any single monument. He belongs to every road, every grassland, every cup of fermented Mari's milk shared beneath the endless blue sky. Herding livestock, a lifeline. In many places around the world, people measure wealth by houses, cars, and bank accounts. But out here on the steppe, riches are counted by herds of livestock. Mongolia has just over 3 million people, but more than 20 times that number of animals. About 70 million in total: goats, sheep, yaks, horses. For nomads, their herds are not just wealth, they're the very reason their tents exist at all. An average nomadic family might own thousands of goats and sheep. They sleep in round tents, with fires burning through the long winter, and every morning the first task is to count the herd, to see if any were snatched away by wolves in the night. In summer, they move camp to follow the fresh grass. In winter, the herds migrate too, and people follow like a shadow that never leaves. From a cup of milk tea to a piece of goat meat or the hide covering a bed, everything revolves around those hooves tapping across the grassland. In Mongolia, herding isn't just a job. It's the only way to survive in a place where the land is wide, the people are few, and the winter can bury anyone who loses the herd. Whoever keeps the herd safe keeps their whole family safe from the snow and wind. Music ritual that makes a camel cry. When a mother camel turns away and abandons her newborn in the desert, Mongolians don't use whips or force. They bring out an instrument, and they sing. In the windy Gobi sands, there's a strange ritual known as the camel coaxing ceremony. When a mother camel refuses to nurse her calf, the herder sits close by, takes up the morin kur, the horsehead fiddle unique to the steppe, and plays. The melody rises and falls like the evening wind, while the herder softly sings, gently stroking the mother camel's neck, coaxing her to come back. People believe this music doesn't just soothe the shivering calf, but also reaches the stubborn mother's heart. Many say they've seen, under the desert sunset, the mother camel quietly turn her head, eyes glistening, licking her calf, and finally letting it nurse as if she'd never rejected it. No one can truly explain why music does what rope or whip cannot. They just know this ritual has been passed down for generations, like a miracle of the nomadic people, a bond between mother and calf restored by song and strings echoing through the dust. A ritual so pure and strange that anyone who hears of it can't help but wonder, do humans have anything more genuine than this to keep nature gentle at heart? Fermented mare's milk feast. Getting drunk is polite. Elsewhere, people drink to have fun. But here, drinking fermented mare's milk isn't just about getting tipsy. It's about showing respect to your host. Anyone who's ever sat inside a Mongolian gur knows the rule. When a bowl of aerag, fermented mare's milk, is poured for you, refusing it is an insult. You take the bowl, clink it lightly, take a sip, and it's filled up again. Round after round, if you're still sober, it means you haven't shown enough enthusiasm. Aerag isn't as strong as wine, but it has a strong smell and a sour taste. And if you're not used to it, just a few bowls can leave your head spinning. But stopping is not an option. Drink too little, and your host may think you're bringing bad luck to their herd. Or worse, that you're disrespecting the spirits who guard the pastures. Some first-time guests at an aerag feast end up so drunk, they fall asleep right there in the tent. That's fine. Sleeping it off is proof that you gave it your all, that you drank enough to honor the ritual. Out here on the steppe, being drunk isn't a shame. It's a test. Whoever gets drunk is trusted more. as if the mare's milk brew ties you to the person across from you, carrying your goodwill through the nomadic wind and night. So, you've just explored 15 strange secrets of Mongolia, where beautiful women stay single and bathing is taboo with me. Out of these 15, which one did you find the strangest? Or do you know any other Mongolian secrets? Drop a comment and share them. And don't forget to hit subscribe on Eagle Discovery so you won't miss our next strange and fascinating journeys.